First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Kakudash. And I want to give double honors also to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I wanted to go into how, every single day we're vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. I'm going to title it that. Lot was vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked, or just vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. And if you don't know what that means, I'll start at verse 6. It says, "In turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after shall live ungodly." Right? And this is going into how the Most High destroyed, Sodom and Gomorrah, by the way of fire. And there is, biblical proof, or there is archaeological proof of how, this actually took place. For example, this is a YouTube channel called Bible Expedition, if I remember correctly. And on this channel, this guy goes over there to where, right, Expedition Bible. He goes over there to Sodom and Gomorrah, and this is what he finds. He finds brimstones, sulfur balls from over there, all over the ground. You're able to see skulls. And one thing about them is that when you look at the chemical composition of these balls, they are 99% made out of sulfur. Where in nature, the way nature produces them, it doesn't come out so pure. So that's one of the proofs of how, this is something that happened right here. It says, "Millions of high purity, 98% pure sulfur balls with burner rings were found here, embedded in what looks like the ashen remains of the cities. The picture of the bottom is Gomorrah." Right? They believe this to be Sodom and Gomorrah. One thing too is how, they found that, these houses that were there, they burned from the top on down. So everything lines up to what the scriptures say about how, due to the wickedness of what they were doing, the Most High destroyed these cities. And it was supposed to be an ensample, which when you go into the definition of that word, it means example. It says, a sign suggestive of anything, delineation of a thing, representation figure. An example for imitation of the thing to be imitated, for a warning of a thing to be shunned. And that is the definition, how this was a warning of what not to do. The judgment of being in that type of lifestyle is fire, is destruction. And what they were doing back then, was you could read about how they try to grape, the angels, men on men. That's what they were up to, is that momo lifestyle, just wickedness. And we're seeing the same thing today. So that's why it says in Revelation chapter 11 and verse 8 that Babylon the Great is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, right? And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. This is not talking about the actual crucifixion. It's going into how, the Lord was crossed out here. Nothing about Yahweh Shai is represented here in America, Babylon the Great. But this place is spiritually called Sodom, right? Because they do the same things that they're doing back then. Now it says, "And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, and seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds." And this is the mentality that the elect are in today. We are vexed seeing, these people do all these abominations, right? To vex with grievous pains of body or mind, to torment, to be harassed, distressed, right? So your mind is tormented when you see, men kissing other men, women on women, because you understand that that is completely wicked. That is not supposed to be that way. When you hear about what these, Satanists, these elites at the top are doing, eating kids, doing shit to kids, wicked. So let's see what that word of vexed goes into in the Google definition. Difficult and much debated, problematic, annoyed, frustrated, or worried, which the main word is, annoyed. Or we're frustrated that we have to see this. And that's the thing, is that even if you don't try to see it, you're still going to see it, okay? Because we live in this society. And one of the ways they really get you is through that social media. Here it is, you could just be on YouTube or on Twitter, just, looking at some information, and next thing you see someone commented something on somebody's post, and you click on their profile, and it's some straight abominations, straight wickedness, you know, and I'm just like, what the hell is this, man? How is this even allowed on the internet? But that's the reality here. This is what it is. So I asked the ChatGPT, explain these scriptures and how in America today we see the same thing. And it says, turn into ashes an example. This is about judgment. The cities are described as being destroyed because of persistent, unrepentant wrongdoing. The Cree phrase is an example, meaning later generations are supposed to learn from it. Not just they did bad things, but corruption became normal, wrongdoing wasn't hidden, it was cultural, and people didn't correct course. So the point isn't just punishment, it's a warning about what happens when a society normalizes destructive behavior long term. Right? So showing you how everything gets destroyed, everything becomes corrupt, and the only answer after that is judgment. Okay? Fire. It says, Lot is portrayed as someone who didn't go along with the culture around him. He lived inside the city, but didn't adopt its values. That's important. He wasn't isolated. He still felt the tension of being surrounded by it. Right? And that's us, Lord willing, I'm a part of that number, the elect, every single day, okay, in this world. Okay, you feel out of place. Okay, you look at people strange because these people are wicked. And the scriptures say that, the world is going to hate you because you're not of the world, right? Because I testify that their deeds are evil, the world is going to hate you. So because we go with what Yahweh Bashim Yahushua spoke about, the commandments, righteousness, people hate us because we're telling them that what they're doing is not right. And even if you don't tell them, just the way you carry yourself, they know that, yup, he doesn't mix with us. Right? He is on a whole different frequency. Right? You got to remember that this is a spiritual thing. Right? Those people that are in that mentality, they have demons on them. And those demons on them, right, know the true believers. Right? For example, when you go into the example of, I think it was Simon the sorcerer. Alright, Acts chapter 19 and verse 11, it says, And God wrought special miracles by the hands of Paul, so that from his body were brought unto the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and the diseases departed from them, and the evil spirits went out of them. Then certain of the vagabond Jews, exorcists, took upon them to call over which had evil spirits the name of the Lord Jesus, which is Yahushua, saying, We adjure you by Yahushua whom Paul preacheth. And there were 7 sons of one Siva, a Jew, a chief of the priests which did so. And the evil spirits answered and said, Jesus or Yahushua I know, and Paul I know, but who are ye? Right, so you had all these men that weren't prophets, weren't men of the Lord, trying to act the part. Right? And the evil spirits are like, we know Yahushua, we know Paul, but who are you? Showing you that these demons know if you're on the right path. Okay. It says, And the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them, and overcame them, and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded. Right, so they ended up getting attacked, by those demons. Because they weren't, sincere. They weren't, true. They were imposters, false prophets. So, it says, And this was known to all the Jews and Greeks also dwelling at Ephesus, and fear fell on them all, and the name of the Lord Yahushua was magnified. So, the point of all those scriptures is that these demons know you personally, right? And everything is spiritual, right? You read in Galatians, I believe it's Galatians 5 or Ephesians 5 and verse 12. It says, it is Galatians 5. No, it's not. Ephesians 4, my bad. 4 and 12. Or maybe I just don't have it off the top. One more time, I'm going to search it. Ephesians 6 and verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Right, so this is a spiritual battle first and foremost. And this world is going to try to trick you into thinking that, oh, no, it's all physical. It's all the physical. And, the reason people have problems because of chemical and violence and this and that. But it's really, spiritual. Demons on you. And the only way to get some demons off you is, as it says, through prayer and fasting. So, going back to 2 Peter, the reason people, just give you dirty looks, you might have problems with someone, it's because you're just on the right path and those demons on them see that, is the point. So, it says, vexed from day to day, this is describing internal conflict. Lot saw and heard what was happening constantly, felt distressed, vexed by it, experienced a kind of moral exhaustion living in that environment. This verse is less about judging others and more about what it feels like to live in a culture that clashes with your values. It says different people, and one thing about this chat is that it has some things that are right and it has some things that are wrong too. Okay, ChatGPT it's not 100%, and as it says at the bottom, ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. So always got to be able to sift everything and through the spirit see if it's right or wrong. So it says different people interpret this differently, but here are the main parallels people usually draw. Normalization of behavior. Some see similarities in things that were once controversial become widely accepted, moral standards shifting quickly, public disagreement about what is right or wrong. It says, every generation in history has said this about their own time. This doesn't automatically mean a society is equivalent to Sodom. It means values are changing, which is constant in human history. Right? Which, that is something that they're trying to say that essentially it's okay because times change, which is not right. Right? This is wicked. And in this society, the behavior of wickedness is normalized. So it says, information overload and constant exposure. Lot was seeing and hearing things daily. Today, social media amplifies everything. You're exposed to more opinions, lifestyles, and behaviors than ever. That can create the same vexed feeling, and not necessarily because things are worse, but because you see more of it all the time. And the thing about it is that things are worse, and we're able to see more of it, right? So it's even we're living in worse times than what Lot saw, okay? Because they have that technology now to literally change, what you got down there into the opposite sex. So we're living in worse times. It says living among people who think differently. Just like Lot, you can live in a society where many people don't share your beliefs. That tension can feel draining, but this isn't unique to America. It's what pluralistic societies look like, which is true. It says moral disagreement versus moral collapses where people often go too far. This passage is describing extreme entrenched wrongdoing, total societal breakdown. Modern America realistically has laws, institutions, accountability systems, contains both positive and negative behaviors. So it's not a one-to-one match. It's more accurate to say people use a story as a lens to interpret what they see, not as a direct replay. So they're trying to say that, there's pros to America. But, like I said, there's some pros in very nuanced points, but majority of America is cons, right? It's wicked. So this place has to go because what they push is to live a wicked lifestyle. So it says the deeper takeaway that often gets missed, it says it's about personal integrity in a flawed environment, not becoming what surrounds you, recognizing that environment affects your mindset. Lot's story is less judge the city and more can you stay grounded when everything around you pulls the other way. And that's a big thing is how we're going to see that heavy in Jacob's trouble. How can you stay grounded when everything around you collapses? Right? Are you going to give in, to the beast system? And the elect, as it says, we'll end with that. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 24 says, for there shall arise false Mashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. And that's the point, is that the elect cannot be deceived. So the elect will maintain their morals, faith in Yahweh, Shemi Hawashai, no matter what is happening around them, to the end. as it says, those that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So, hopefully this is edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Rakakudash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to elect, shalom.